Okay, let's start with a bit of a puzzle. You've got Aaron Copland, right? The guy who basically created the American sound. Then there's Philip Glass, the absolute master of minimalism. And of course, the legend himself, Quincy Jones. I mean, the man produced everyone from Frank Sinatra to Michael Jackson. So what on earth could these three possibly have in common? Musically, they seem like they're from completely different planets.
Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but it's also kind of mind-blowing. It points to one of the most important and maybe most overlooked figures in all of music history. See, all of them, they all had the exact same teacher.
So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this secret teacher. We're talking about a woman who didn't just teach scales and chords, she helped forge the actual sound of an entire century.
Her name was Nadia Boulanger, and she was this incredible French performer, conductor, and most importantly, teacher. From her classroom in Paris, she became this central force for a whole generation of aspiring composers. And in doing so, she completely changed the game for American music.
And this wasn't some small niche thing. I love this quote from the composer Virgil Thomson. He joked that pretty much every town in America had two things, a five and dime store and a student of Nadia Boulanger. I mean, that tells you everything, right? She became part of the country's cultural DNA.
Just look at this list. I mean, the range of her students is just incredible. Her studio in Paris got the nickname La Boulangerie, the bakery, and it was turning out artists who would go on to shake up completely different genres. And that's the key right there. She didn't create little copies of herself. She had this uncanny ability to help each person find their own unique voice. And she wasn't just a force in the classroom. Oh no, she was out there shattering glass ceilings on the world's biggest stages. We're talking a time when this just didn't happen. Nadia Boulanger was stepping up to the podium, proving that a woman's place was, well, wherever she was talented enough to be. Apparently, when people asked her about it, she just said conducting was a job, and your gender didn't have much to do with it. How cool is that?
Okay, but to really get Nadia's story, and especially why she poured her entire life into teaching, we have to talk about her younger sister, Lily. This relationship, it's really the emotional heart of this whole thing.
You see, the dynamic between them was, wow, it was powerful and deeply tragic. Lily, she was considered the true genius composer, a total prodigy who was just destined for greatness. Nadia, on the other hand, was seen as the brilliant, super disciplined teacher. They even competed for the same coveted prize. But their lives and their destinies, they went in two very, very different directions. Let this sink in for a second. The year is 1913, and Lily Boulanger becomes the first woman ever to win the super prestigious Prix de Rome for composition. She was only 19 years old. This was a huge deal. It was like a thunderclap announcing that a major new voice had arrived in a world completely dominated by men. But then, just 5 years after that incredible victory, Lily died. She was only 24. And this loss, it completely broke Nadia. It became the defining moment of her life. She completely gave up her own composing career, even calling her own music useless. From that point on, she dedicated herself to two things, promoting her sister's legacy and, you guessed it, teaching. It's almost like she decided that if Lily couldn't compose, she would help generations of others find their voice, channeling all that lost potential through them. So, what was her secret? What made her such an incredible, legendary teacher? Well, it was this amazing mix of hardcore, intense discipline and, at the same time, this deep sense of artistic freedom. Her whole philosophy was built around this one core idea she called La Grande Ligne, which translates to the Great Line. And her most famous American student, Aaron Copland, explained it best. He said it was about feeling the forward motion of a piece. The flow, the sense that everything belongs, from the first note to the very last. It's not just a collection of pretty sounds, it's a journey. And this quote from Quincy Jones really says it all. He remembered her telling him, "Your music can never be more or less than you are as a human being." Wow. I mean, for Nadia, it was never just about technique. It was about who you were as a person. She wanted her students to dig deep and find their own creative DNA, to connect their art to who they really were inside. And you know what? She practiced what she preached. She wasn't some stuffy traditionalist. She had a real rebellious spirit. Back when she was competing for the Prix de Rome herself, she caused this huge scandal by writing for a string quartet when the rules explicitly said she had to write for voices. She knew all the rules, sure, but she taught her students that the whole point of knowing the rules is so you know how to break them creatively. Now, it's important to remember that the Boulanger sisters weren't fighting this battle alone. Their story didn't happen in a vacuum. They were part of a much bigger movement of women who were all pushing against the expectations of their time.
Yeah, this struggle for recognition was happening all over. You had incredible women like Florence Price, who was blending classical traditions with African American spirituals, and Amy Beach, the first American woman to write a whole symphony. All of them were redefining what it even meant to be a composer.
So, why are we talking about this now? What's the takeaway? Well, it's because the work that these pioneers started, it's absolutely still going on today. And here's a perfect example, the Boulanger Initiative. It's a modern-day organization that takes its inspiration directly from Nadia and Lily, and their mission is simple, to get the music of women composers performed, celebrated, and written back into the story of music where it belongs. And that really brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? The ripple effect from Nadia Boulanger's teaching is just huge. Think about it. When her student Quincy Jones produced Michael Jackson's Thriller, one of the biggest albums of all time, he was using lessons he learned in that little Paris salon. Lessons about structure, about soul, about finding that one unique voice. From the grandest concert hall to the catchiest pop song, her influence is literally everywhere. So, here's the bottom line. The story of women in music isn't some side story or a footnote. It's a central, absolutely essential part of the main story. You just can't understand the sound of the 20th century without hearing the women who were right there, at the very center, shaping it all along.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. We've uncovered the incredible story of Nadia Boulanger, but her journey is a powerful reminder that history is filled with amazing voices that have been pushed to the margins. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Whose stories have we still not heard?